Hi everyone, it's Sue Plumb here to share another scrapbook process video with you. Today's layout that I am sharing was created for the Challenge Me, Challenge You monthly series that I do with my dear friend Gwen from Created by Gwen. And this month Gwen has challenged me to use punches and I have challenged Gwen to use washi tape. So we are both going to combine those two things from our stash and see what we can come up with. Now, I have to confess that I literally had to blow the dust off both of these supplies because they are both things that have been neglected in my stash of late. So I am extremely happy that Gwen challenged me to get my punches out. So I'm going to give you a quick look at some of the punches I pulled for this layout. I didn't actually end up using all of them, but I think I ended up using most of them. So I've got a few Martha Stewart punches there. I've got a couple of Fiskars ones. Most of them are border punches with the exception of that beautiful Monarch butterfly punch, which is my favourite punch of all times because you know how much I love butterflies. Now, I've pulled a few washi tapes as well. I've got a number of pink ones there. I've got some Dina Wakley washi tapes. I've pulled out some scraps of some of my Vicki Boutin papers. I've got a couple of distress oxides. I've got some acrylic paint. And I've got a sort of... No, I don't really have an idea at this point. I really just know I want to use all of these things and create a mixed media page. So my design for this page was pretty much dictated by the photo. I'm always guided by my photo. And you can see I've got that black and white photo of my daughter there just sitting in a pose I took out in our yard. Now, because she is sitting the way that she is sitting with her back running down sort of the right edge of the photo, I wanted to weight this page over to the right-hand side and have her placed against or near to the right edge of the page, which is exactly why I am structuring the colour on my background as I am. So I've got the colour running down the right-hand side and across the bottom, and that's pretty much where all the action on this page is going to be. It was my intention to leave that left corner up there white space so that I can balance off the heaviness that's going to be going on the right-hand side of this page. All right, let's get stuck in. So I've got the mustard seed distress oxide just applied to the background there with my, as I said, simple packaging technique. And over the top of that, I'm just going to apply some acrylic paint. Now that's Payne's Grey that I've used there and applied with a brayer. All I'm looking at doing at this point is just building up some layers. I just want various layers that you can see through, start bringing in the colour palette that I intend on using. So the colour palette that I had planned for this layout was warm tones, but I also wanted to bring in some of that darkness, some of that black, simply because of the colours in my photo there, that black and white. There's some strong blacks, which call for black in this background. So I'm using a stencil there, and that one is from Simple Stories, and then I've used my picked raspberry distress oxide and just a little makeup sponge just to sponge some colour through that heart pattern on the background. And you can see that I've now already got 3 layers, 3 very quick layers, mind you. There was pretty much no drying time in between any of those layers, and they're already done. So that's the mixed media component of the background. Tick, already done. Now, moving on to these punches. So you can see I've got that pile of scraps, and I think I've got one of the, yeah, I've got a 6x8 paper there as well. You can see that one there. So my intention was just to try and use up some of these scraps. Now you can see I've stuck with pinks, orange and yellow. Like I said, I was intending on using warm tones with this page. So I'm cutting out a matte for my photo, which actually ended up being a double matte. So I've got one that's just the flat layer of paper there. And then I'm going to use a second layer of paper to matte under my photo, but I'm going to punch along the edge of that one. Now, this punch I am using here is called doily lace. So rather than just punching a border, it actually punches out a piece of paper lace that you can see there. And this is also one of my favourite punches that I've had for many years. So I actually ended up going off camera there, and you can see I've just used the doily lace to punch out a couple of pieces. I've used the scalloped edge punch just to put edges on a couple of pieces of paper. And I've used the little notebook paper punch to punch along the edge of that second photo mat, the pink one. Now, I've just used my fingers to ruffle up along the edge of that punch paper just to add some texture to the page. It adds a bit of interest. It gives it a bit of dimension. And I just love the way that it looks. Now, I have stuck with one of my traditional elements that I tend to use on most of my pages, which is a coloured paper doily. You can see I've added that to the stack there. And I've stapled those pieces together just to allow me to move them around independently, at this point not attached to the background. So I've also got those scraps that I've punched, and at this point I'm trying to work out the best placement for them. I wanted to layer them to create a horizontal plane along the bottom of my layout there, and just to help anchor down underneath where my photo is going to sit. So it gives me a strong vertical plane with the photo, and it'll give me a strong horizontal plane with those strips at the bottom. So you can see it's coming together. I've got, as I said, yellow, pink, orange going on, which works incredibly well with the yellow and the pink in the background. And you'll see how the black that's showing through those layers will work really well with the photo when I bring that in as well. Now, you may notice that I am not at my regular desk for this video. I actually filmed this one at my sister's place, so things are a little bit different but kind of the same. Anyway, excuse me. So I've actually gone in at the bottom of my page there. Can you see those stripy pieces of washi tape? So all I've done is torn some strips of washi tape and then sort of torn them in half, and because they do have those strong stripes on them, I am using them to reinforce the vertical line on the page by just layering those over those horizontal strips, and then you can see that it forms those vertical lines. So I also used that washi tape because it did have the black on it, and again, as I said, I wanted to bring some darkness into my page to help balance the darkness of my daughter's jacket and her pants and everything that was going on in the photo. Now, I used a couple of the strips you can see I'm sticking them vertically there so that they poke out from behind those photo mats. And I've got that other piece there with the scallop on it that I'm just tucking down under the right-hand edge of my photo mats as well. So you can see I've got punched edges going on all over the place. Now, I don't know. Yes, I have ticked the box, because I most definitely used punches, because I used, what did I use? I used the notebook punch, I used the scallop punch, I used the doily lace punch, and I used the monarch butterfly punch. So I used four punches that have just gone completely neglected in my stash of late. And I think I ended up using three different washi tapes, I think. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a scratchy throat. Yeah, 3 different washi tapes. So I'm hoping I've ticked the box on that one too. As I said, I did want to maintain that white space in that left side of the page just to balance the heaviness I had going on the right-hand side. I mean, quite obviously, you don't always cover the entire page, every layout that you do. There's always inevitably going to be some space somewhere. And I guess I did tick the box. I did use a lot more washi tape than I've been using on any other project lately. And I definitely ticked the punches box. So I think I did tick off this month's criteria quite well, because I used very little other materials on this page, you'll see. I am going to add some embellishments on. Oh, you can see me using a little bit of glue there. So this is one of the problems when you neglect your supplies. That old adage of use it or lose it rings very true when it comes to scrap supplies. So some of these washi tapes that I was using, one of these pink ones in particular, really, it was so old, it's kind of lost its stickiness. So I probably should have used it a lot sooner and didn't. But I did want to use the pattern and bring in that sort of bright, strong pink colour that was on it. So I had to add a little bit of tacky glue just to help hold it in place. Now, the next layer I am adding onto my stack there was some frayed gauze for texture. You've heard me bang on about this a million times. If you haven't, you must be new here, so welcome. I usually use this on my pages. I love the textural element it adds. It just softens those background layers and just gives your page more depth. There you go. So I'm now looking for some extra little embellishments to add onto this page. As I said, I didn't want to use a lot. I knew I was going to use punch butterflies, so I knew they were going to be my main embellishment. But I was looking for some pieces in this Vicki Boutin ephemera pack, just in similar colours, just things that were in warm colours. I found a couple of flowers that I really wanted to use, but they had green on them, and I really didn't want to bring in a cool tone at this point. I really wanted to stick with those warm tones. Just by luck, I found that piece that I ended up using as my title piece there with those 3 circles that said the wow factor. And looking at my beautiful girl there, she certainly does have the wow factor, even if she doesn't think so. Then I found that row of sweet flowers that I thought would look really good, just sort of bordering that bottom edge of the photo. So I popped those up with a little bit of foam tape just to give them some dimension and to help lift them up to the same height as the photo. Now, the other thing I had here, I had, this is a Thickers pack. It's also a Vicki Boutin Thickers pack. There were a couple of little chipboard pieces on here that I thought would work very well. There was that little arrow I've stuck onto the photo that says right now. There was also this phrase that says yes girl, yes, in yellow that I thought would work very well. Now again, you can see I've used my Scotch tacky glue because I never trust the adhesive on those chipboard pieces, ever, ever, ever. They may seem strong at the start, but I just think simply the weight of those over time will pull them away from your page. So I also like to just play it safe and add a little bit of extra glue to them. So now you can see I've got out that Monarch butterfly punch, which I just adore. Now, for anyone that's seen my tattoo, you'll know that I love Monarch butterflies because I have 3 Monarch butterflies tattooed on me for my kids. And so this punch is my all-time favourite. I can't tell you how many times it's been used because you can never have too many butterflies on a page. So in this case, I am actually going with 4 punched butterflies. I've got 2 down in that bottom left corner just to add a little bit of extra weight there. I'm going to add 1 onto the edge of my photo in that negative space of the photo there, just alongside my daughter. And then I'm adding 1 up in that top right corner just to balance things out. It just helps give that beautiful diagonal flow to the layout with the butterflies traveling from the bottom left up to the top right. So once I had those butterflies down, I was looking for a way to finish this page off. So you'll see I left this part in deliberately so that you can see I don't always hit on the right thing straight away. So initially I'd thought about using the washi tape to create a bit of a border and block in that top left corner. But when I started to get it down on the page, it was too heavy. I didn't like it. It detracted from the main focal area of the page. So I ripped it off and I got rid of it. See, not every idea is a winner. So in the end, I grabbed out my all pencil. I scribbled a border on 2 sides and added a couple of little scribbles to it. And then I looked at that white space and I thought, oh, that's just too clean. So out came the black ink for some trusty black ink splatters. And that was my finishing touch. Oh, I did end up stamping the date down in the bottom right corner as well. But other than that, that was it. So what do you think, peeps? Did I tick off this month's criteria well enough and cover off punches and washi tape combined on my page? I cannot wait to see what Gwen's done with this criteria as well. I will put the link to her channel down below so we can all go over and see what she's done with these things. And I thank you so much for stopping by today and letting me share this with you. I will see you next month. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Until next time, bye.